The question oftentimes everybody asks is, how do these big companies do it, right? We've seen a lot of private equity companies up here, some sizable businesses, several hundred millions of dollars. And we're all looking for that answer. How did they get to that size? What did they do differently? And it really just comes down to whatever level of volume you are right now, you need to right-size your ship to be able to produce cash, because it is that cash that's going to be, having that disposable cash is what's going to fund your future growth. And too many times people are trying to grow their business at a point, the top line growth, without even being profitable. And they're not even knowing whether they have cash or not cash. So in 2025, what I'm going to suggest is that instead of making a goal or setting a goal to grow your business top line volume by 20 or 25%, and Brian touched on this earlier, it's a lot easier to grow the bottom line than it is the top line. And the reason I say that to you, when you try to grow your top line, there's too many variables involved. If you're a $10 million company, you say next year I'm going to do 15 million, think of all the things that can go wrong and do go wrong. Right? You lose your top salesman. All right? Your sales manager leaves you, goes to the competitor. Your number one lead aggregator doesn't work anymore. Any number of things can happen that are out of your control. All right? And that's why, setting goals are like New Year's resolutions. If you don't hit it, you don't lose 10 pounds by February, you're sitting back on the couch eating bonbons and nobody thinks any less of you. Right? So what we end up doing in business is we keep setting those goals year after year that we're going to grow to this amount. We're going to grow to this amount. And it never happens. If you focus on your bottom line and organize your chart of accounts, there's not a doubt in my mind that you will increase your bottom line profit more than what you can possibly realize by using some of these methods that we're laying out here. And I say this to the extent of which, instead of setting a goal, which is oftentimes nothing more than a wish list, you can make a promise, not just to yourself, but to your staff. Right? And when you make a promise, nobody wants to break a promise. You can miss a goal and nobody thinks less of you. But you never want to break a promise. You break a promise, it's a question of your integrity now. You back down on your word. And it's not just a promise to yourself, but a promise to your team. Right? And I can guarantee you implement and execute some of these methods we're talking about here, and without any doubt, no question, you will hit your profit promise. So if you're 3%, and it's not just a wish list, you have to go through an exercise and you can actually calculate, determine how profitable you can be in 2025, whether it's taking it up to 12% or 15% net profit. So start 2025 by making a promise or profit promise plan. All right, that starts with redefining your chart of accounts. Again, 70% of most companies out there are just using the default settings of QuickBooks, which are listed alphabetically. You want to go in there as a business owner or a chief operating officer or some key business leader in your company and redefine every one of those expense line items. And you compartmentalize them separately in a way that makes sense into different departments. Again, you cannot have your CPA, bookkeeper, and accountant do that. They don't know your business the way you do. All right, again, here's some examples I showed earlier of a detailed breakout of your marketing section of your P&L, so we don't need to go into much detail with that. I do want to show you this example that we covered earlier, the standard off-the-shelf QuickBooks version. Most people just go into the advertising section thinking that their marketing percentage is 6%. You might end up also then with an overhead of 30%. You add those two numbers together, you have 36%. If you redefine and reorganize your chart of accounts, your new benchmark might be 16%, or whatever it may be in your business. This is just an example. The overhead could be 20%, And you still end up with a sum of 36%. So you say, well, what's the difference? It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, as they say. The difference is with that 16% in the blue font, now you have people, a call center manager, maybe even a marketing manager, overseeing that. That is their world. That is what they are focused on. The same thing could be done with the 20%, making up 3 different overheads between your sales, production, and administrative overheads. And then you can take that 36%, and it'll just happen ever so naturally once you put these benchmarks in place and you bonus people accordingly. You'll still have the same volume, but you're operating more efficiently. And that 36% drops down to, maybe 33%, 32%.